This is Boomer Time, a proactive podcast for baby boomers, about baby boomers, and for people taking care of baby boomers. If that sounds like you, then you're in the right place. I'm Nancy Cogar, an elder law attorney and aging advocate, and this podcast was made just for you. Remember, though, the things we discuss here are not intended to be legal advice, and no attorney-client relationship is established by this podcast. Scams are on the rise, and they're targeting seniors. Hello, everyone. This is Nancy Cogar, and this is Boomer Time. Come on in and get yourself comfortable today. We are talking about scams. This is a huge issue. Seniors over 60 are a primary target, so you're going to want to listen today. I can share plenty of war stories, as I have had a number of clients come to me after being scammed, I'm sorry to say, and it's always painful. And it's hard to recover losses, really. And unfortunately, it's only getting worse. The FBI tells us that scams targeting older adults are up, get this, 82.35% in just 1 year. It's not as simple as you might think to protect yourself from all that. These scammers are sophisticated, and they're getting better at stealing from you all the time. Perhaps you've already experienced it or become a victim of scams. We're going to talk today about the top scams out there right now in the first part of our episode. And then we're going to have a second episode coming up where we talk about putting resources in your hands and telling you what you can do to protect yourself and your aging parents. And I am also going to share what you might be able to do to stop all those phone calls and junk mail altogether. Doesn't that sound good? And stay to the end of that because I'm going to get those resources in your hand. You know how I love resources. It's all about empowerment. This is a very sensitive topic for me as an elder law attorney. It really gets my fire going. And you can probably tell today I'm really excited about sharing this with you. I've seen numerous seniors victimized by these type of scams. And I thought it would be good to start with just a few examples. You might be able to relate to some of these. So one such scammer's tool that I ran across was the home phone. One simple call lured an older and lonely lady who had been recently widowed to the internet and to a matchmaker website. Then she proceeded, believe it or not, to spend tens of thousands of dollars over the computer to talk to this man who promised to marry her. It was a whirlwind romance. She was so convinced that it was true love that she cut off her own daughters and refused help altogether. Can you believe that? Well, I'll tell you, her entire bank account was emptied. And guess what? There was no groom and no marriage. Here's another one. I had an older gentleman who had received a new cell phone. He got the cell phone to stay in better contact with his daughter. That makes sense, doesn't it? Well, one of the first calls he got, and this was over at Costco, he was in the parking lot, was from someone who informed him that he had won the Jamaican lottery. It was a $10 million prize. All this man had to do was to release the jackpot, was to send taxes, because it was an international prize after all, that were due on it, and they wanted him to send it all in cash to a P.O. box in South Georgia. Of course, here's the other bad part with this story. He didn't tell his wife because he wanted to surprise her. So it went on and on and on. He sent more and more cash in boxes to cover those taxes and all those other costs until he had nothing left. He and his wife had to file bankruptcy, and their entire life savings was gone. This is a true story. These evil scam artists target your home phone, your cell phone, your email, and even your mailbox outside. I had another older client whose mailbox, speaking of mailboxes, was filled with all kinds of mailers. Maybe you've gotten these, you probably have. Asking for charitable donations to defend Social Security from Congress, to protect the American way, to help veterans. You name it, they were asking for help. And so she was a civic minded person, right? And she systematically wrote checks in response to each of these mailers. They were little checks, $10 here, $25 here, but it all totaled up to close to $50,000 in 1 year. I came in as an attorney and I went after those aggressive direct mail marketers. Yes, I did. And I recovered about half of that money, believe it or not, for her family. And that money went back towards her care. That was a good day. Unfortunately, that's not how these stories usually end. How prevalent are these scams? Well, let me ask you a question. This is kind of like a bad joke. Have you ever received a call to advise you that your car warranty is about to expire? I think everybody's gotten that one. Hang up on these guys right away. That's what I want to tell you. Okay, all right, I know I'm getting worked up, but I've got a lot of ground to cover today, and I just want to make sure to get these resources in your hands too. So stick with me because I want to protect you from these dirt bags and also stop them from sending you stuff altogether. How's that sound? Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, I'm going to talk about the top 6 scams that are currently out there. Stay with me. Welcome back to Boomer Time. This is your host and aging advocate, Nancy Cogar here, and today we are fighting back against those scummy scammers that are stealing billions from seniors all over the country. Boy, does this make me mad. I've already shared a few stories that I've experienced here. You got to know, though, this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Why not? These scammers understand the fishing hole. The graying of we baby boomers, that represents the largest transfer of wealth in U.S. history. You've worked hard, you've saved money. Guess what? These guys know it, and they want to take it from you. It's bad. So before the break, we talked about the latest scams out there. Awareness is the key. These scammers are convincing, so please, here's a golden rule for you before we get started. Do not share personal information with anyone that calls you on the phone. Make sure you know who is on the other end of that phone. All right, so before we share these top 6 scams, easy for me to say, I want to ask you to send your stories. If you've been scammed, send me your story. Share your story. I think people need to know about these things. It's nothing to be embarrassed about or to be humiliated. That's what they want you to be, so that you will not share this with other people. But we need to know these things. So I would just ask, if you're willing to share your story, go to my website, nancycogar.com, and contact me and share your story. I may use it on another episode, so just know that. But it would sure be appreciated. So, okay. Here are what are considered the top 6 scams to be wary of in 2024. Are you ready? Okay, let's go to our mailbox. This is something I think really has to do with my older listeners. Do you still write checks to pay bills and leave that little red flag up in your mailbox for your mailman? Stop it. I don't mean any disrespect, but just stop it. Put the mail in an actual post office slot, or better yet, Don't write checks. Figure out how to set up these payments electronically. Your kids can help you with that. Here's the problem. Scammers steal checks from mailboxes and even from postal boxes. Sometimes they walk off with mail from the postal carriers themselves. Can you believe that? These guys are brazen. And here's what they do with them. They wash the check with chemicals. So they will wash off who you wrote it to and how much it was for. Of course, they'll keep your signature on the check. They need that, but they just want to change who it's written to and the amount. So, guess what? You won't find out until the check is posted, and they'll be long gone. So that's probably at least a week or more after the fact. They can also take a picture of your check with a cell phone. And there's always software for everything, right? Well, they can alter the check so that they can use it for their purposes over and over and over again. I told you, these guys are smart. Okay, number 2. It's something called voice print scams. What in the world is that? Does that sound familiar? Didn't to me at first, but technology is to help with this crime again. And when I heard what they were doing, I said, yeah, I've gotten this call. So maybe you have too. You ever get one of those calls where they'll call you, ask you a question, and capture your voice? Maybe they're wanting you to say hello or yes, this is me. Well, they use a computer to then imitate your voice. Can you believe that? And in one such case, the phony voice imposter called the victim's bank and asked for all of his accounts to be transferred. Can you believe it? Ay, ay, ay. My answer to this, again, is don't talk to anybody you're not sure who it is. And you can also get caller ID, right? And if you don't know who it is, or if it says it's a telemarketer or unidentified caller, don't answer. You don't want to talk to them anyway. All right, number 3. I shared this one earlier with you, the sweepstakes scam. You get a call or you get something in the mail, notifies you you're a winner. But first, before you get the prize, you've got to pay taxes on it, right? Wrong. This is a scam. I have had clients burned by this one bad. Remember the golden rule? If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Period. Don't fall for this. Number 4 really makes me mad. It's the grandparent scam. This took a particular kind of devious person to come up with this, in my opinion. Here, you'll get a phone call, and it sounds like it's your grandchild. It's a distressing call. They're telling you there's an emergency, or they just had a car accident, or they've been arrested, and they're asking you to wire them money. They will give you case numbers, attorneys' names. Don't believe any of it. If you're thinking your grandchild might be in trouble, call their parents. Or call the court in the morning. You'll find out it's not the case. These scammers are so brazen, I'm going to tell you, that they will even come to your house to pick up money in person. Can you believe that? I know I've said that a lot, but these guys really are unbelievable. So this is really scary too. Please, please do not let anyone like that come to your house. And do not give them anything, especially money and your identification. Don't do it. These people are dangerous, and sometimes they're involved with even more serious crimes. Remember, Jody talked about that in our conservatorship episode. She's seen this firsthand, especially with people that have diminished capacity. These are just really sick people that are taking advantage of people that have declined mental states, and even people that just trust people. Please don't give them the opportunity. Number 5. This one gets under my goat too. Government imposters. Have you received a phone call from the Social Security office, the Medicare department, someone telling you you've got to pay a bill or else your Medicare is going to be cut off? These are scams, people. The government is never going to call you on the phone and ask you for a credit card. They're just not going to do that. If they do, that's going to be big news. But in the meantime, they are not going to do this. And the IRS is not going to text you, okay, and ask you for your credit card. Please no. These are scams. Do not give these criminals your information. And number 6, robocall scams. This involves the phones again. A robot, believe it or not, AI, right, records your voice and then uses your voice to carry out a variety of scams. One common one that they ask you is, "Can you hear me?" And what do you say? "Yes." They will then use that yes to authorize all kinds of unauthorized charges on your behalf. Believe it or not, that's happened to me too. So, how do you recognize some of these calls? Just know that no one's going to call you and offer you a prize or select for an offer. You won't be arrested if somebody calls you on the phone and is asking you for money right away. Law enforcement and federal agencies don't do that. They won't call and threaten you. And you know what? I think it's the best thing in the world. You don't have to make a decision right away. Even if somebody makes you an offer that sounds enticing to you, tell them you want to sleep on it. You never have to make a decision right away, and they are going to pressure you to make a decision and give them the information they want. Don't do it. Take your time, okay? Only scammers are going to want you to pay with gift cards, cryptocurrency, or wire transfers. Why is that? Well, there's a reason, and I'm going to talk about that in just a couple of minutes, because we're going to talk about what happens if you've already been scammed, okay? But this method of payment, anybody who insists you pay that way, they are a flat-out scammer, period. Don't do business with them. And as I've said before, no government agency is going to call you and ask you for your Social Security number. They just don't do that. But people do it all the time. We're going to take another quick break. And when I come back, I'm going to offer some help if you've been scammed, kind of what you can do next. Okay? Thanks for listening to me. I'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Boomer Time, and this is your host, Nancy Cogar. So I've shared a lot of information in this episode, and I hope you're still with me. I could, unfortunately, I could share a lot more. This stuff is just pervasive. There's just so much of it. I do want to share with you, though, how you can stop it, how you can stop the calls, how you can stop all that flood of that junk garbage mail. And there are some things you can do. So in order to give that the time it deserves, we are going to do that in a second episode, which will be coming up. So in the meantime, I encourage you, again, if you've been a victim of some kind of scam, or maybe some of the things that I've shared earlier are familiar to you, let me know. Reach out to me at nancycogar.com. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your story. And I'll tell you what, I am so passionate about this. Every time I hear about one of these scammers, I always report it to my friends up at the Tennessee Attorney General's office. I do. I've got friends at the postal inspector's office, and I let them know about what's going on. I think that's important. They're your public servants. They need to know about this. So, okay. So, what can you do if you've already paid a scammer? You've been burned. And I got to be honest, it's hard to get your money back. So, there are some things you can do, though. If you report it to the company that's involved, or your bank, or the company that makes the gift card, depending on how you paid it, you might be able to get your money back. So I want to go over a couple of those with you. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm turning my little paper so I can look at my list here. So this makes sense to me, and I'm not. I have not escaped this. I've had my credit card used to buy camp equipment in Florida, computers. I had someone go on a shoe shopping spree. I'd say that 3 times fast in London. Yeah. So don't feel bad if you become a victim of this. So we're in this together, and I want you to know what you can do to fight back and get your money back. So if you paid with a credit card or even a debit card, we use those as credit cards, you can contact the company or your bank that issued you that card. Notify them and let them know that's a fraudulent charge. More often than not, if you do that quickly, they can reverse the transaction and give you your money back. Don't wait. That's the problem if you wait. But if you contact them and it's still pending, they can reverse it. So that's good to know. They may have you fill out some paperwork. I know several of the banks that I do business with, they've got very substantial fraud departments now because of this same issue. And they'll have you fill out some paperwork, maybe have you sign an affidavit saying that what you're reporting is true. You can understand that. But this is an option that's available to you if you act fast. Okay? So, what if somebody makes an unauthorized transfer on your bank account? Remember, we talked about the guy that recorded the gentleman's voice and then called his bank and said that he wanted to close all his accounts and transfer them over to another bank? That is just amazing to me. If you had anything similar to that, call your bank and tell them it was an unauthorized debit or withdrawal, even if it's from the ATM machine. I know around gas stations here in Chattanooga, there's more people picking up debit pins and they'll make all these charges. Happens all the time. Just pay attention to your charges and ask the bank to reverse the charge. If you don't wait too long, they'll probably give you your money back. What if you buy a gift card and give someone the numbers off the back of the card? I still don't understand this, but people will get calls and the people say, buy me 100 gift cards and put them in the mail. That's how you're going to pay for this. So, of course, they do it. That's just like cash, folks. That's cash. It's gone. Okay? I don't know why they think that's better than cash, but in essence, it is cash. But contact the company that issued that gift card. They've got a list of contacts. Usually it's a major company that's issuing the card. Tell them the card was used in a scam and keep a copy of the gift card and the store receipt. You're going to need that documentation to try to help you get a refund. What if you sent a wire transfer? Well, that's just like cash too, okay? Contact the wire transfer company. Tell them it was a fraudulent transfer. So you got to do this quickly again, okay? Western Union, MoneyGram, Walmart, they've got all those wire transfer companies. Tell them it was fraud. And I would seriously recommend that you also make a report of it because that documentation will help as well. Okay, and I don't know too many people that would do this, but if you pay with cryptocurrency, I personally don't understand all that still. Contact the company you use to send the cryptocurrency and tell them it was a fraudulent transaction. You see a theme here? Communication is key with the right people, right? Okay. Well, I hope you found this helpful. And as you know, I don't want to be all gloom and doom. I like to spend some time with encouragement towards the end of my shows. And I'd like to take some time out for that. And also to lift folks up that are maybe the victims of scams. You feel embarrassed, you feel, kind of humiliated maybe, like how'd you fall for that? Don't feel that way. Like I said, these guys are professionals. They know exactly what they're doing. They know what you want to hear, and they'll tell you whatever they think you want to hear to get you to do what they want you to do. So just learn from it and know how you can prevent from even getting in those conversations. And as you know, this is a place that's meant to be a safe place, this podcast. I want to create community here. So if you're listening, chances are somebody else who is listening has been through the same thing. Hey, I even shared I've been through it, okay? So you're not alone. And if you've got a topic, even related to scams or maybe something completely different, reach out to me at nancycogar.com. I want to hear from you. Maybe you'll make a future episode. I've talked a lot today. I've given you a lot of words, hopefully helpful ones. But as you know, I like to end with some quiet thoughts. And I just want to lift you all up in prayer today, especially if you've been a victim of a scam, and just ask God to give you some peace in your lives and in your circumstances. You probably feel humiliated or ashamed or, just how could you be so stupid, right? Don't feel that way, please. These guys are professionals. They know exactly what they're doing, and they get more sophisticated at it all the time. I haven't shared that I had been through that. So, right? And I'm a lawyer. So it can happen to anybody. So I just ask God to just remind you of that and just, today to just give you a sense of peace and peace in your circumstances. And if you have become a victim of some kind of scam, that you would find resources here. And if the resources aren't here that you need, that those would be opened up to you. Or that you would feel confident enough that you could reach out to me and I could share that with you. Or find somebody that could help you. And Lord, just help us, to when it comes to these financial scams, these people are evil. They're bad people. And I would just ask that this episode helps to better educate people and spread some awareness about these scams. So I just ask that all in God's name. And I believe that when we do have that heavenly help in all things. And I believe prayer matters. So with that, I would just say amen. Thank you in Jesus' name. And I will wish you a wonderful week. And I'll see you next time. So long for now.